In this episode, I am joined by Moksh Garg, the co founder and CEO of Figr, an AI powered design platform that's revolutionizing the way design teams and product teams work together. Moksh shares his insights on how Figr's platform helps teams design and build products faster and at a higher velocity. We talk about the gaps in the current design AI landscape and where it is failing for enterprise companies. Hey, hi Moksh. Thanks for joining on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Vishesh. Pleasure to be here.
And so, yeah, we've never met, but we have a common thread. I think you're an Antler alum as well.
Mhm.
And I realized that after you actually accepted the call that you are an Antler. Do you wanna talk a little bit about what Figure does for the customers and why now is a good time for something like this?
Right, right. So definitely, I think Figure helps design teams and product teams to design and build their products much, much faster and move at a really, really high velocity. So we've been working with a lot of different teams now, and the product in itself is a AI-powered platform which enables you to do all different kind of things. It's not a prompt to design. It's much more nuanced, much more complex, built for complex workflows, which are generally at enterprises and growth stage teams. So you can say that from managing and expanding your design systems to creation of wireframes, understanding your PRDs, analytics, and giving you insights about what can be changed in your product. So all of these smaller agents we have built, and we have built a host of different agents that are currently being used by these growth stage teams. Why now is the right time? I would say that obviously the technology has been evolving really, really fast. The general intelligence of generalized model has become so good. And what we do is we fine tune them based on very specific data about UI UX, the UX laws, what are the best practices in product designing. So the intelligence, we are able to build that out specifically for product design. I think very few companies are actually doing that. They're just building a wrapper on top of ChatGPT or Claude. The other part I feel is we like to properly serve these companies, these enterprises, we also bring in a human in the loop. And what we feel is that right now is a really, really good time to expand the productivity of a human. So we bring in these expert designers, PMs, developers to serve these enterprise stage teams to make sure that their complex needs are being served. And we make sure that, one human is able to, what they were able to do in a week or 2 weeks, we are able to achieve that in a couple of days. So that productivity boost is really high. Earlier, it would have been very tiresome to run such a business. But now, with AI coming in, with our AI agents, as well as the tools coming in, it is much, much faster. Things which were almost impossible to do. So, to give you an example, we run a complete usability testing. And what we do here is that we simulate all of the users, that personas that you have, and we try to see how will they react to your design before even it is shipped. To do a usability testing, if you ask any product team, it takes weeks, even months to do that. Take your product to the user, observe them, in a closed room environment. Maybe you can do it with four or five, then it's very opinionated. But now we're able to do it with thousands of different users within us and get actual actionable insights on what can be changed, what was their eye trick tracking data, how they interacted with it, how much time it took to complete that particular task. And all of that combined in a couple of hours, it's very, very powerful. It's not perfect, but definitely it gives really, really good insights and actionable insights which can be used by these enterprises.
Right. It's definitely an interesting take because, of course, enterprise workflow isn't going to change overnight. Just,
Mhm.
things are lovable and easy to accessible. How do you think you stand against these kind of products? And are you seeing some of the enterprises approach it from the other end, which is radically changing and shifting things by using prompt to design?
Definitely. I think, first of all, really amazing job done by Lovable, Bolt, all of these new tools were lowering the bar of building new applications. That is what we intended Figure as well. But they are sort of working from an other end that is targeting individuals and indie hackers, entrepreneurs who want to get started very, very quickly, prototyping, right? But there is very, like a big white space on the right side of the spectrum where the teams, when we talk to these teams, these bigger teams, enterprises, we see that they're still not completely adopted to these. They have tried out Lovable and Bolt and other such tools, But the problem also kind of brings in is that they're not completely able to understand your context. To build a new application or even an existing application, there's so many flows, so many states. What happens if someone logs in without a email, or like a disabled state, error state, focus state? Like there's so many things that happens, and they're really good at giving your first draft, like diverging and like making sure that the whole flow is comprehensive in nature. That is something that they're not still there yet. The other thing we feel is that they are, I think, we are almost there to build new applications or like new flows, like first draft of them. But iterations in an existing flow is still not there. Like I haven't seen any AI tool out there specifically for design who
Yeah.
understands your current flow, current design, and make changes to it. But that is what we do here at Figure. And most of the teams we work with, even if you're at seed stage, like you've already shipped something, right? And most of the work that a PM does, maybe in a 1 month or quarter, they release a new feature. But almost every day, they're optimizing for those 1%, 2% improvements. And that is where, the white space is. And that is where Figure helps.
Interesting. So you started, your first startup was a EV venture, if
Right, right,
I remember reading correctly. How did you
right,
move
right.
EV to design? That's a radical shift.
Yes, I would say like I've been always a designer. Like since my school time, like I've started with graphic designing, then went into product designing, UI UX designing, building marketing collaterals, working with marketing agencies. And even at my previous startup, I was looking after the product design and the marketing and the whole product side and everything visual side. And therein I learned a lot about how to build products, how to scale products. We built software for hardware, we built the web apps as well as the mobile app. So it was a like a three-pillar system, and we had to make sure everything is working smoothly. So there was a lot to learn there. But after Valerio, I still worked like for 6 months with a lot of different startups on their product design and their strategy, where I realized that, I'll discuss this with my co-founder as well, Chirag, with at Figure, and we realized that, we like being sort of a young blood, we were able to quickly adapt to new workflows or new technologies and build out new applications and launch them. But not everyone enjoys that liberty. And when we sort of deep dive to understand what actually takes so much time to, ship your design and to get started with the design, we realize that getting a clarity of thought on what to make is almost 75% of the time. Like if I ask you today to build, let's say, any tool, like an attendance monitoring tool, or let's say a plant watering app, you will not open a Figma and start designing it. The first step is to actually understand how to build that app, who you are building for, like why you're building it. So that information is something which is very, very critical, and brainstorming on that is very, very important. And that is why we built Figure to get started with design very, very quickly. So you can brainstorm, you can do wireframing every day, and then go towards the designing front.
And so with this approach, you say that you're cutting time on flows on even existing design. What happens when the code base is large and the design system is spread across
Right.
multiple apps? Have you tackled that yet?
Yes, yes, we have. We have just started doing that, with this year coming in. Like up until last year, we were also like enabling early stage teams, like I would say people at pre-seed, seed, which have just like sort of launched their first version. It is out there in front of users. Maybe they've done a couple of iteration product development cycles. But now we've realized, like after again speaking with them, even some bigger companies that like we're working on, like, let's say multiple products, or their product is too large, multi-platform.
Hmm.
So the design system is across like this, it's staggered. Like there's so many inconsistencies there. They're not able to ship fast as they used to. They're not able to ship consistently as well. And the product development cycle are going long. And the design is also like not that consistent. And what we realize is that to build that, we need to first understand their design properly, like what went wrong. And that is why we have different plugins, in even a one Figma plugin, as well as different tools which reads your whole Figma file, understands what all consistencies are there, what exactly is your design system right now. If you want to expand it, if you want to maintain it, uh, you can do all of that with our plugin. And sort of we start with an audit and then go beyond and help you maintain that as well. So yeah, that is also there.
So you have a Figma plugin as well.
Yes, Figma plugin as well. So we have a couple of Figma plugins. One is to generate design systems from scratch. The other is if you already have a design system, you already have a UI. So we can help you read it and we can help you extract the styles, tokens, everything that constitutes into a design system, all the components, and then sort of organize it well and maintain it. And then if you want to expand it, so you can do that as well later down the time.
How helpful was Figma as a distribution channel? Or did you see leads coming in through their marketplace?
Definitely. I think in the beginning, like when we just started out, we, for a couple of months, we were always on the first page, like the trending page of the marketplace on Figma. So we launched a lot of different smaller files. It was more of a growth hack for us where we launched all of these files, these smaller plugins to get traction and to get building. And initially, the idea was to obviously leverage the Figma community as much as we can. But now we have seen that the kind of designers who come in from the trending page, like the intent is missing, right? So when someone searches Figure or anything about design system, so definitely we come on top on Figma community as well right now, and that definitely helps. Like even today, almost 20% of our traffic comes from Figma community, so that is very very helpful. But it took some time to build that out.
And so, in terms of steps to build that out, was it just the plugin publishing the plugin, or did you also, if I remember correctly, Figma allows you to submit your designs, right? Like
Right, right,
sample
right, right, right,
that people
right,
can
right.
get that.
So yeah, that helped as well. So see, the way I think Figma community works is the way Google works. Like, you have an intent. Let's say you searching for a travel booking app, right? Or you want to create a design system or styling like Airbnb. So you'll search rather than on Google, many people search on Figma community. And what we did was what all you can achieve with the plugin. So we did that already and we created files and we published on Figma community. So, and we, place the keywords accordingly, tags accordingly. So whenever someone is searching something similar, we showed the files that
Hmm.
this is something that was built using our plugin. And now, if you want to build something similar or something more, you can go and check out the plugin. So this was a loop where we are able to capture them on the intent that they see something like a similar file, and then they open the file. They also see that there's a plugin in the back, and they can also use that plugin. So that's how the workflow went on.
Understand. Have you guys thought about courses like video courses and
Mhm.
Udemy courses? I have seen a few tools where I got baited into. I,
Mhm.
I signed up for a course thinking it was a foundational course, but turned out to be like Flowwise is an example of
Mhm.
an agentic flow builder.
Mhm.
Picked up that course thinking that it was completely something else, and then the guy was just teaching Flowwise, which is a product.
Right. So, like, we haven't, like, we want to eventually go into,
Hmm.
it's a very complex, like, it has some learning curve to it. So, I would say that at that time we might, but that is more on the teaching side of how to use the plugin. We, in the end of the day, our vision is to enable more designers, tasteful designers out there, and not just designers, makers. People are not just designing products, but also going into the building of products all together, like brainstorming about it, researching on it, doing a strategical part, and as well as go beyond design and develop it as well. So definitely enabling more and more such better people would be the aim. But as of right now, we haven't started with the education front. Maybe it's too soon for us. We need to focus on and build a really, really good product. And then later down the line, we will go into that as well.
And so, like, still early in the journey, but so far, what were some of the things you did to validate? How can Figure as well help you validate faster what to build, what not to build?
So in the initial phase, like definitely talking to users like as much as you can. I think as YC says as well, like talk to as many users as possible. Like that's in the initial phase, there's only two things you do: talk to users, build the product. Again, talk to users, build the product. And that is what we were doing in the initial phase as well, to sort of validate as well as invalidate our assumptions.
Hmm.
And once you have something sort of a base setup, then I think the other part that comes into play is again in the product iteration that you build, you measure like how people are coming into the platform and how are they interacting with it, what are where it is taking most time, and you measure exactly what is happening, and then you again go into the sort of do a product strategy. You build maybe a new feature, optimize an existing flow, and then again show it to users. So that build, measure, iterate loop, that is something that we follow a lot. And coming to Figure, I think that it can help you. Obviously, you have to go and talk to users yourself. Like, I think no SaaS tool, anything will help you do that. You have to just go out, pick up the phone, or like go on a call and just talk to them and understand them. But let's say once you have a lot of data, you have a lot of insights, maybe it's just raw transcripts, some analytics, or something or the other. Definitely, you can input that in Figure. You can input your existing screen, or let's say you don't have any screen, you want to start out with a new flow, new feature, or new product. So you can input all of that sort of a data dump, brain dump, and we will help you brainstorm with it. Like what all things you can build, what all things should be built. We'll show you a lot of different alternatives, and you can pick one and you can go deep dive into it as well. So in that iterative process, Figure comes very, very handy. And a lot of different companies we're working with are actually using it for this. And one of the companies we work with, they uploaded their post hoc user interaction data onto Figure to understand, where the user is getting stuck. And we gave them some insights about okay, these are 4 or 5 places and 4 or 5 key takeaways, and this is something that you can do about your design to improve that.
So you mean post hoc replace?
Right. Post hoc replace. Yes.
Was that a manual dump or do you already have an integration with post hoc?
For that time, it was a manual dump, but we're working on an integration with Mixpanel with PostHub as well.
I think there is a IC startup that is, I think they have a native replay tech, but they are doing something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's an interesting. And so, how does someone take the design which comes out?
Mhm.
What's the path from design to implementation? Are there integrations to other AI tools for better, like,
Yes,
for example?
right, right. So we do provide the code, but like the I think we are working with some integrations, for example, with Replit and some similar tools, which does a really good job in design to code. For example, Anima, Locofy,
Right.
Lovable, and Bold are on a different side. Like they're from just prompt to design, so they're not that nuanced yet. But we're still exploring some partnerships with them as well. And once the design is there, like we make sure like we understand the design system. So we give out the design in like your design language. So many a times, if you see other AI tools, other AI design tools, even if you try to brainstorm with Claude or ChatGPT, they'll give you first really good like sort of a mid-fidelity wireframe, but it will be in a very off style, off colors, typography and everything, and it wouldn't resonate like it's your brand's design. So that
Yeah.
is something that we make sure we do. The other part is that we also have integration and sort of an interoperability with Figma. So we give the design, the final design ready in Figma, and yeah, that is there also. So from there you can do a dev handoff.
One of the things I've noticed with Lovable, especially, is you can actually see a product and tell it's a lovable product.
Mhm.
They have a
Mm,
similar like icon system,
right,
similar design system used.
right, right,
How does that compare to Figure? Like, if I am startup A or company A versus company B, how different is the output from Figure? And can you take something that comes from, let's say, a Lovable and then convert it to an actual design or a design system that has a brand voice?
right. So to answer your first question, like again, that is where we started working with teams because earlier we were also in the very, very early stage. That our target was early stage companies, and we realized that they face a very different set of problems, and they're okay with a very like a common design pattern because they're still in the validation phase.
Right.
Like they don't care about the styling to be very different or the branding to be very different. So the moment we started working with some bigger teams, we realized everyone has a very different design system and a very different way of building design system. It's not very consistent. So reading it and making sense out of it is something that we worked really, really hard on. And now we have come to a point where uh, every company that we work with, the designs that we build out, these are like similar to your brand guidelines. It is similar to your branding. So it's very, very distinct in nature. On the second part, I think you asked like if we can take Lovable's design and extract the design system and maybe change it. So definitely we can do that. We do that with Figma, and Figma is not like code native. It doesn't give HTML design or HTML code. So still we are able to figure out like how to extract your Figma, like take your Figma design, extract styles of it, out of it, and change it. So with HTML, it is very, very simple. So HTML and code, that is also we can.
I think in our last conversation, we spoke about this. I mean, it's not a new movement. People have been using this term for a while, which is probably why Lovable is called Lovable, minimum lovable product.
Right.
Uh, so, what do you think is coming from a design and a product background? What are some of the nuances to understand in terms of differences between an MVP and an MLP? And
Mhm.
how should first time founders look at this?
Right. Like like when we started out, like the first version, like with like the very first version that we launched, it was like bare bones. It was just barely functional, and the and many people used it, and I think some of them paid for it as well. And we were happy. But with that, we learned a very important lesson that like as you're launching the first version, it's not just needs to be functional. Like there's something more. The experience needs to be a bit better. Like there's a delight that needs to add something that take away that okay, there's something new that I'm using, and then at the same time, it should be usable as well. For example, let's say if someone is not able to properly log in, that is something like your MVP can, give out or generate designs, for example. But if it's the login problems are there, like the table stake features that we speak about, if they
Right.
are not there, then it kind of becomes difficult to trust the product. And the other part as well is more around the reliability of the product. Like if I'm generating every time, or let's say I'm performing every like a task every time, it should perform in the similar way every single time. But many times, the MVP lack, they are functional in nature, but they lack sort of, I would say, the reliability and that delightfulness that comes into the mature products. And like my take on is that in the early stage, you don't need to be completely reliable, completely stress tested, and a lot of delight features, but something should be there so that you can get people to talk about it. So functionality is obviously the top thing. You need to have some functionality part into it, but then later on the time, you have to also have some part of the reliability and the delightfulness. Really good author, Dan Olson, he talked in length about this in his book about MVP versus MLP. Like he created this pyramid, and he talks about, like functionality is something that people misinterpret for MVP. It just doesn't need to be functional. It also needs to be delightful. The experience of using the product needs to be something which is much better and polished. And as the user experience becomes better, it drives word of mouth. People start talking about the product more about it as well.
I think a lot of times, early stage people go wide
Mm,
in terms of feature set, and that's probably
mm,
it dilutes the user experience and the
mm,
lovableness of it.
mm.
Yeah, so there's
Yeah.
a balance, I guess, between going wide
Yes.
versus going a little deep.
Yes. So I think initially you need to be like laser focused. And I think again, there's another quote where your initial target persona should be uncomfortably narrow. It should be so small that you're only solving for a very small set of people. And then it slowly, gradually increases out. So that is also very important.
The other extreme is solving for yourself. Don't be that.
Yes. I think with that thought only we started out figure like we started with a repository of design files, and it was like my earlier collection of a lot of designs, and I realized that to solve for getting started with design, people resort to a lot of inspirations and everything, and they're not there are a lot of good inspirations out there, but they're not actionable, they're not editable in Figma, there's not much files. So I just curated a very big list of designs, and we just launched it on Product Hunt, and we saw that like I didn't think that, we'll start a company or something out of it. It was just me organizing my previous work, and at the same time seeing that if it helps anyone to get started fast. So we just launched it out, and we saw that almost 1,000 people downloaded that curation. And it was a free product, but we hosted it on Gumroad, and it has like pay whatever you want feature. So
Right.
even for a free product, you can pay like a couple of dollars just to support it out. And we saw that within, I think it's a very small amount, but for a free product, we backed around $100 in first 2 days. And that gave us some confidence. Like we spoke with them, why did you? And they said that there's a lot of inspiration, but finding them is very difficult. And you make that process easy. And it's editable in Figma. So that is how we took sort of a hint that like design as a whole is quite broken, like product design as a whole. And there's something that definitely we can do about.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you can solve a problem for yourself for sure,
Mm,
but to then step out and talk to a few more people.
Right.
We spoke about the AI stack behind Figure.
Uh,
Right.
you have uh, it's a multi-agent, a multi-model kind of deployment. How
Mhm.
complicated it is, and at what stage someone can use something like this?
So, I think overall, as word agent is like the biggest buzzword of the last year, I would say, and it's not that complex to understand and to actually build it out as well.
Right.
It's just an independent sort of an algorithm which is working on its own.
Hmm.
You give it some input, and the final outcome is coming out, and it is autonomous enough to act on the feedback again, work on it. So we have built a lot of agents that speak with each other, and they're able to drive the final design. To give you an example, let's say you do like I want to build a like whatever, like a plant watering app. So now there would be one agent which is just responsible for copywriting. And like if you give an LLM a very broad task, then the result will be okay. But as you specify, like you trim down the task and you ask them to be very, very specific, the results go 10x better. And that is what we realize with like how these workflows of agents is also working out. That you have training and specializing on a very, very special task. You can have a fine-tuned data just about copywriting, like how you go about copywriting. Then there could be a fine-tuned data just about the UX laws and layouting of the elements in the whole design. Then there could be like we have one for usability testing, we have one for brainstorming, other one for wireframing. So all of these agents in the end of the day solve for product design. I could just go out and say to Claude or GPT, that a general model that
Right.
design a web app. But the results will be again, they're good first drafts, but they're okay. They're not specialized. But the moment you have more data, you have more complex needs of the user, and they're willing to input that data. So then all of these agents are specialized in what they do. Then they work with each other to give out the final design, and it takes much more time. Obviously, the turnaround time is it goes to 5-10 minutes at times, but the results are also very, very detailed. It can spit out a complete user flow with all of the states mapped out. It could also give out the wireframes and everything. So that is how that our AI agentic workflow works. So there are multiple agents, like I think almost a dozen of them, like, and some of them are very, very simple, like calling out to Perplexity or doing a Google search and taking out and extracting the insights. The other one is just for its icon generation and image generation. Then there are much more complex agents which are for usability testing, which has again a lot of different things inside them.
Right. So, how is the orchestration of these agents or the flow setup? Does it have to be done by the user, or you have preset playbooks?
Yes, currently we have preset playbooks, but like many companies we've seen who have started giving the control to the user so that they can orchestrate it as well. Like we have preset playbooks in parts. So for example, let's say you want to do a usability testing. So you can just choose that agent and do a usability testing. Let's say you just want to create a wireframe. You don't want the high fidelity design. You don't want it in your design language as well. You just want to brainstorm and just think about first what to design in the first place. So you can choose that part only, and you can go into that option and you can brainstorm and create a wireframe. Then we also have one option where you can just select the design executor. What that agent does is that it has a precondition that you should already have a wireframe, and you should already know like the layout of your design. So we're not going to help you brainstorm about that. We are just going to design it in your design language. So we have broken it down in parts so that you can choose the particular agent or you can run all of them in parallel as well. But yeah, that functionality.
And so, for all these specialized models, like for someone who's looking into something like this, not exactly like this, but trying to build specialized model, how did you any lessons in procuring data set to train this?
So most of the data set we have is either open sourced or initially we hired a lot of designers and we created data in-house. Then use like in terms of data, I think the quality matters over quantity. Like the best quality data helps you because it helps you synthesize more data in the future. So what we did was initially we had a really, really good quality data set, which was smaller set. But then what we created was like using this data set, we created a lot of synthetic data. So with this, like our first version of the model is ready. And an example would be that now we are able to run 100 generations. Now those 100 generations, maybe four or five are good.
Hmm.
So then creating a system which identifies or evaluates which four or five are good, and then they are also added to the data set. Now you have, let's say, initially you started out with 100, now you have 105. And this loops goes on, and now you have 1000. But it's very, very important to have the first 100 points really, really good, because that will sort of create a like a root of all the other data points you have. But at the same time, it's very, very human driven as well. So even today, we work with a lot of studios, freelancers, even our internal design team, and we help in creating, curating all of this data.
There is this trend of maker founder
Mm.
specializing is fading a little bit. I wouldn't say it's caught on massively. I still think people see value in specialization, but I think it's only a matter of time, right? AI is getting better. How do you see the future of product development given where we are heading?
I think to some extent, I think specialization is very, very important. Like there are some workflows, some instances where specialization is needed, and you cannot go away with it. So that will, I think, will stay, but the number will reduce or in masses, because right now there are a lot of tasks or things that people do which overlaps with different functions. So we'll see a lot of horizontal integration happening. Let's say a product manager who is design very, very design forward. I've spoken to, I think, hundreds of different product managers. Some, let's say, for example, they provide wireframes to the designer. Some are not that hand-on and they don't provide wireframes. They just give a problem statement, maybe a small PRD. So we see that horizontal integration happening, where that now a product manager, what he is doing is he's using our tools, he's using Lovable, whatever. Like there's a lot of different tools out there. And now they're able to design as well, like something that they have originally thought. On the other hand, we have seen designers do opposite. Like they were first just focusing on design front, but now they're also researching. They're also able to, brainstorm. Like if I just want to have a like solve a very vague problem, increase conversion rate on, let's say, a bookings page. So it's a very open-ended problem, maybe a PM would have done. But now a designer can also get hands-on. They have the data, they can do analytics very, very quickly without any code knowledge required. And they can understand what is the root of it. So I feel that currently it kind of boils down to your intent, like your will, like how much you want to learn and expand. But with time, it will become sort of necessary that, these product management or product strategy, your design, as well as some part of the code, front end code at least. All three, I feel, are merging together, and maybe a new persona or a new job title can emerge in the future, that is of maker. And I think all of the founders in the early stage, they do that. Like earlier, we were like when Figure started out, we were responsible for the product part, the design part, even the code part, only two people working on it. We were forced to learn all of the, like we already knew some of it, but we were forced to do all of it because we couldn't afford anyone else.
Yeah.
But now I feel that with the tools coming in, they are so much capable. No code tools are just popping everywhere, and the intelligence that is coming in into these tools, I feel that this trend will emerge faster than ever. And more and more, I've seen more and more designers, people who are looking at, let's say, product analytics, achieve much more than they were able to do before, and not just achieve more but faster as well. Like, if you are able to achieve something faster, what do you do with the rest of the time, right? So you go beyond and you do other things as well.
When you talk about these people doing more, one of the things that seems to be a limitation is the pace at which the models can respond.
Mhm.
Have you seen challenges around the pace at which people are coming to you as a product and getting output out? And what are some of the solutions you've explored, if any?
Right. See, obviously we can do those of like those optimizations again and again and reduce the speed extremely, like just in an instant. But I feel like given the stage we are at right now, like not just Figure, but all the other AI tools as well, what we should compare is like the delta. That earlier, how much time was it taking you to do? And now how much time is it coming? Even if it is taking 5 minutes to process, I'll give you an example. I was just working with Claude and we created this project, and there was a lot of user interviews we took, around 50, like a sort of a sprint we did for our first early preview. It was back in Jan, I think. And we just uploaded all the transcripts, and now we could chat with Claude about how people felt, how was the overall sentiment. Earlier, it would have taken me days, maybe a week to do that, like analyzing all the transcripts, understanding what is the sentiment. It would have taken a dedicated person to do that. and now we were able to achieve it. It might have taken me 1 hour to set up the project, maybe collect all the transcripts and upload it. And maybe now it's taking 5 minutes to answer that. But isn't that what even humans do? Like, if let's say if I ask you a question, you would think about it, right? And even similarly, if I were to give the same task to a human, they would also think about that task and do that. So I think definitely the speeds will go down and down. Like the turnaround time will be very, very high. But at the same time, currently we should like I think celebrate the intelligence of it, like rather than just focusing on that how much time it is taking.
Right.
Because you should compare the delta, like how much time it used to take before that and how much time it is taking now. So that is what we tell our customers as well. Like earlier it would have been taken up weeks, days to do that. Now it's maybe 5, 10 minutes. But definitely that 5, 10 minutes will also go down and down.
Right. We have reached a new segment,
Hmm.
which I call random questions.
Hmm.
So let's start with that. If you startup were a religion, what would be the first command?
Not properly thought about it, but I think we've always, like from day zero, Chirag, me, and me have always focused on the lean product playbook, like the lean methodology of building the products. And that build, measure, and iterate, that three words, the loop of running it again and again. Even we feel that that is the path to PMF, to making your product really, really well. And I feel that is where we focus the most to make sure that we're always building. And once we've built, we quickly measure the results. We take it to users, we understand their insights, we have the best analytics setup. And then we make sure we iterate accordingly. We don't add our own biases or opinions. With users, we iterate, and then we again go to the build mode. So, yeah, I think that maybe answers your question.
Yeah, that's a good. Do you think founders are born, made, or just really bad at employment?
I can share my personal experience. Like from my school time itself, I wanted to start up and build something of my own. I think
Right.
that there's a maker's high. Like when you build something and it is in front of people and they're using it, the satisfaction is so good. And when they're actually deriving some value out of it. So I've always wanted to do that. But at the same time, I've seen founders who have worked for a decade or something and then they started out. So I wouldn't say that they're born entrepreneurs, but with time, they sort of go through experiences and then they think that I'll do it myself, or I want to do something of my own.
I guess timing.
Timing would be a key thing.
Do you believe in build in public, or are some experiments better left undocumented?
Building public is a really, really great way to just showcase your progress, attract more eyes, and in general also getting user interviews or people share their experiences on what you are building. And I think if what you're building is good, like more people would want to join you as well. So definitely there's a lot of pros in building in public. But at times there are some things that you're not completely sure about. I think building public, I see it as like sort of journaling your journey. Like whatever you're doing, you're kind of just posting it out there. But at times I feel when you're also not sure of, or let's say you don't get the time to journal it properly, it could happen that what you wanted to speak out or what you wanted to, write down, it is not coming out that way. Or maybe something is better to share when it is in the right state, or maybe it is when ready to share. So there's both sides to it, but I feel definitely building in public, like most of the part, should be there because I see many, many, many founders doing that on Twitter, LinkedIn, and a lot of they're able to track a lot of users before even a launch. They're able to see that more and more people want to help them build it out better. So definitely that is like I think it's an old trend, but it's even increasing now with the people are sharing what they're building.
Yeah, I think, at least from what I've seen, there are few who over celebrate, and I think it should be
Hmm.
more about sharing learnings and
Right, right, right,
that you can share and pepper it with some celebration.
right.
Then I think it's fun to be a spectator of it. But
Mhm.
otherwise, yeah, it kind of uh,
Yes.
leaves
I
it.
think over celebrating on, yeah, I think that is there. I've also seen that.
And so if your startup could talk, what's the one thing it would yell at you for right now
Me as a
as a
as a
founder?
uh, Interesting. I'm not really sure. I look at the startup as like a brainchild, and think currently things are going good. Like there are highs and lows in building of every startup. So we are at a good momentum right now. So probably the startup won't yell at me, hopefully.
Good child, not like my son. He yells at me every day. Which startup KPI should go straight to startup hell and never come back?
I'm not sure about how many startups track it, but just raw sheer volume of users who are using your product.
Yeah,
Just like, many people celebrate number of signups on day one, day two. I think that's just not the best metric to track or just to look at. Like it's very easy to go, and attract a lot of eyeballs, people trying it out for one time or exploring it out. I've seen many entrepreneurs and founders just getting happy about it that we have 20,000 signups, 50,000 signups. Signups doesn't tell you anything, even when you're trying to understand the business. How many of them are coming back again? How many of them are actually using it, deriving value out of it? That is much, much more important. The retention, how many people are paying, the revenue, and that I feel is more important. Just sheer volume, especially in SaaS companies, I don't think any founder should seriously track it.
right. Any parting advice for people who are just starting out?
Hmm. I think, as I stated earlier as well, like go build out whatever you want, but build it with users and talk to as many users as possible. This is something that has helped us a lot. And even today, one of the key metrics that we track is just raw sheer number of user interviews we've had. I cannot overstate like how useful it is to get out of your shell and talk to users, show them what you've built, even if it is nowhere near, like even if it is a wireframe. Many times I've just gotten a call and showed them a wireframe. That is something that we're thinking of building. And this helps us a lot to understand even before we have launched something and saves us weeks. So talk to users, solve their real pain points, and just go out and build. Yeah.
How does someone listening find Figure? What's the sign up process like?
Right. So right now it's in sort of a early preview version. So we onboard every user and every team personally. So you can get on the website, figure.design, and you can book a call with us. And always you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter.
All right. That was it. It was a fun chat, Moksh, and thanks for joining me here on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vishesh. It was really lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for having me.
If you found this valuable, you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. See you in the next episode.